Oh, this pin's folded over. Oh, came right out. Howdy folks, thought we'd take a close-up look at something Santa slid down the stovepipe last week, and that is a desoldering station. This is the Pro'sKit model number SS-331. It also goes by the ZD model number 8915. If you're familiar with ZD desoldering station, Dave Jones made them rather popular in a video he did a number of years back when he reviewed the ZD 985. All of these Chinese desoldering stations are very similar. They've got an LCD display and they've got 3 buttons. A temperature up, a temperature down, and a button to change between Celsius and Fahrenheit. And it's that simple. I have been using for the last 40 years of my life, well, not that long, let's say 30, solder wick and one of these cheap pieces of crap. And it works okay on single layer boards, but once you get into dual layer boards, it's almost impossible, especially if you can't get at the pins on the other side. You could cut a component to remove the pin and use desolder wick on both sides to clean out the hole. But when you've got, a dual layer board that's with a plated hole that's right through, and you can't get to both sides, such as when you replace relays, and that seems to be what goes so often now, are relays and capacitors. 75% of what I repair is because of a bad relay or a bad cap. Let's get into this thing. I'll actually link to Dave Jones's original video on the 985. And ever since I saw that one, I've been wanting one of these things. And I chose this Pro'sKit one for one reason only. And that is because I had some Banngood points to use up, roughly $60 worth. And yes, I did buy this. I didn't get it sent to me for free. So yeah, I got it for around $60. So yeah, these are around 130 bucks. There is an issue though, however, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But really, I could have picked any of these 3-button Chinese desoldering stations. They're all very similar. So let's just see what we get in the box here. So this is the actual unit itself that houses the electronics and the vacuum pump and the power supply. So it's got a 7-pin GX aviation connector, or that's the suction input, the hose screws on there, and there's a filter. We'll talk about those too in a bit. And it is fairly heavy and it's fairly big, so yeah, it's going to use up a little bit of bench real estate, unfortunately. And let's just pull everything out of here. That's it. Yep. So power cord, it's a nice power cord. It's really flexible though. But check this out. And this is the problem with these things. Here in Canada anyway, very difficult to find 110 volt versions of these. I was looking at the ZD 915 on Amazon. There's a seller there. Not too much to bring it into Canada, about $40 in shipping, then import fees and everything. Most of the places, you're going to spend $100 just in shipping. And it just makes it cost prohibitive. So that's a problem. And even on eBay, it just seems everyone's stocking just the 220 volt versions and not the 110 volt versions. So if we can look at the box here, if you need 110 volt, it's the 331E. This is the 331H, which is the 220. Now I'm going to get by that problem by using one of these European voltage adapters. So it's gonna up the voltage. It's just a step-up transformer, and it ups the voltage from 110, well 120 here, and it will be upping it to 240. So that's how I'm going to be powering it through this. And these are rated at 140 watts maximum. So I figured if you go double, you're probably pretty safe. Power cord's got a standard C13 end on it. I've just got my soldering iron heated up to here to 340. Yeah, she's hot. Doesn't melt the wire though. So this is obviously a high temperature wire. Anyway, it's good quality cord is what I'm getting at. So there's our C13 input. There's the power switch, and this is fused. We can open this up real quick. Let's take a peek. So there's our little fuse in there. It's just a glass fuse, 3.15 amps, and you've also got a spare one if that one ever blew on you. So that's kind of cool. Now this is all plastic. That's not bad, but yeah, it would have been nicer to probably see a metal housed one, but really, I guess that's not too bad. What I don't like about this Pro'sKit version over the ZD915 or 985 is the membrane buttons. I hate these damn things. They always end up cracking if you use them a lot. Now hopefully you'd have this set at one temperature and you wouldn't be dialing it up and down that often. Now let's take a look at the actual gun itself. So this looks like that. Actually, let's just look at the stand. It's heavy cast aluminum. Comes with a little spongy, and then here's our stand for the actual iron. It's just a standard iron stand. It's got the little C-clip that you can move back and forth depending on the length of your iron tips. And it's very sturdy, nothing wrong with that. What I did like about this over the other ones is you've got a separate stand. It's a lot of them, the stands are built right onto the side of the station, so this way you can have the station off on the side of the back of your workbench, wherever, and you can have your desoldering gun right in your working zone. So I really like that. Now, so let's get to the gun. And these are all modeled off the Hakko 472. They're nice, they're small, they're easy to get into the board with. This specific one, sometimes they've got the release on the back, but these Pro'sKits and the ZD8915, they've got this little trigger switch, and this is a sprung-loaded back on it. You just pull it back, slide the glass tube back, lift it out, and that's how you lift out your glass tube to clean it. The little spring in here is just to keep this little aluminum plate held in the back, and the idea is when you pull the trigger and you create vacuum, it pulls the solder through the heating element, and it will blast into here and blast against the metal, this little aluminum plate at the back, and solidify, and that's what catches it all. And then you've got a little ceramic filter, and these are the consumable items on these things. The biggest one, it comes with spares as well as different size tips, and you can also get ceramic mat, then you can cut your own out. So go wild if you want to do that, if you wanted to save even more money. And the other neat thing about these is you can buy parts for them. You can get the guns, you can get the heating elements, so very serviceable. All these gaskets, by the way, are silicone, so they're high temperature silicone. But this little gasket here, it often moves and it will plug the hole, and then you won't get any suction. So you just have to make sure that that is over the little protrusion, the tube protrusion that's coming out from the heating element. So when you put your tube back in, you do get suction. And these things get really polarized reviews. People either seem to love them or hate them. And when you read the reviews, a lot of the problem are people aren't reading the instructions. They were upset because the tip is plugged. Well, this is a soldering tip and it's tinned. So yeah, it's plugged with solder. First time you use it, you warm it up, heat it up, hit the trigger, it'll pull that solder away and clear out the tube. And there is, there's a learning curve to these things. It's just like soldering. Desoldering is no different. There is technique to it, and I'm going to try a few. We'll see how it goes, but again, it's something that the more you use it, the better you're going to get at it. And really soft tube. There's your actual suction hose, silicone hose, and silicone sheathed wire, nice and flexible. What do we got here? So these little rods, I don't know if you can see there, they are rasped at the end, file-like, and this is just to clean solder out of the tube. And that is one thing, these tubes, if you don't If you turn the iron off and you haven't cleaned the tube out, they will get plugged, and yeah, you're going to have to reheat the thing up, let the solder soften. It shouldn't stick though, it's all stainless, but if there's a glob of solder in there and you let it cool down, yeah, it's going to solidify and it'll be blocked. And that seems to be one of the biggest complaints you see on reviews. People having blocked tubes, again, they're just not maintaining them properly or using them properly. Of course, the instructions. So it's just looking over it. They're decent instructions. Here's all the specs. The iron or the heating element is rated at 90 watts, so it's powerful. Your temperature range is 160 to 480 Celsius. Vacuum pressure is up to 600 millimeters of mercury. And then the sleep mode is if you leave it for 10 minutes. This has got a motion switch in it. If it doesn't detect any motion, it ramps down the temperature after 10 minutes. Doesn't shut it off, just ramps the temperature down to 200. And it shows you what the pinouts are. It shows you how to test them, which is cool. So you can test your heating element, test the switch, test the temperature sensor, like test the motion switch as well, or the wake up switch. Shows you how to replace a heating element if you ever had to. So pretty thorough. Let's start opening this thing up. Tube out. And this just comes off too. So it's not bad. It's a little plasticky and cheap feeling, but yeah, this is kind of hokey. But it's fiber reinforced plastic, so it's not complete junk. So there's the internals. Everything's heat shrunk. Decent little micro switch for the trigger. There's the vacuum hose, and then the motion switch, probably on the yellow wire there. Can't really hear it, but no, not bad at all. And the other thing I want to check out is the end of the plug here. A lot of times these are not put together well. There's a short potential. The soldering job is horrible. So let's just take a quick look at this. There we go. Isn't that interesting? So let's have a look at these solder connections. Not bad at all. Looks like someone actually knew what they were doing. This is the ground wire. It's not a shielded cable. They're just running the ground wire through, and then they've got this lead that is pinching against the clamp pin of the connector. Oh, and that's another thing. Is this actually ESD grounded? Back together. Let's see if this is grounded. So that is. Let's hook it up to the station and see if the plug is grounded. So that's the ground pin. So there we go. So ESD protected. Oh, another thing. Power switch at the back. That's another thing that bugs me with benchtop anything. Why put the power switch on the back? It's just a pain in the ass. Power switch should be on the front. Might be a mod to do. Time to get into this thing now. They make this kind of sneaky to get apart. So you've got 4 screws on the bottom, and then there's 4 hidden screws behind these plastic covers. And these snap off, but you got to get in there with a screwdriver to snap them out. Took a little bit of figuring out. Note, different size screws from the bottom ones, so make sure you keep a note of that. The big ones go on the bottom, smaller ones go on the front. Ooh, be careful here. We don't know what we're doing yet. Okay, so there is a vacuum hose. I don't know if you can see that, but it's they've just used a zip tie to tie it off on the outlet nipple. So we're just going to have to pry that back gingerly like. And then this should come off. Okay, and there's a fan at the back. Can we unplug that? Oh, it's zip tied in. Geez, a lot going on here. So let me just move this up. So there's the little brushless fan at the back. As you can see, there's our power switch. So if you did want to move it to the front, you'd have to put it and bring it through one of these panels, because there is room. Ooh, you could probably put it here. Might go there, or you could put it on the side. Of course, you could use a smaller toggle switch or something, but if you wanted to mod it to put your power switch on the front, the main component in here is, of course, the pump. Don't want to zoom in too much or you won't be able to see anything, but looks like an RS 550 motor probably. Just a DC motor. There's the intake for the pump here. Must be a two diaphragm pump. Nicely isolated. There's a big rubber isolation mount on the bottom, one on the top here, big grommet around it. There's all our control interface. We've got our switchboard and the actual logic board for the display as well. And really nice to see all the GX solder connections. Here they've all been heat shrunk, so they're all nicely insulated. All the wire management is tied off. Yeah, it looks pretty good. The as far as grounding goes, there's our grounding wire in from our C13 connector. Here's our power supply, so it is grounded, switch mode power supply. And then another ground strap going to the housing of the GX connector. The fan placement, it would be turning this way, so it's drawing, as most fans, they're drawing air out of the cabinet. There's no ventilation slots anywhere on the front or sides or bottom, so that kind of seems odd. Where is it drawing its ventilation through? It's pulling it out the back, but where is it drawing it from? We'll have to see how warm it runs. Maybe they just don't run warm. But to me, if you've got an exhaust out the back, you'd want an intake maybe over here on this side, so you're pulling air past the switch mode power supply. Before powering it on, just thought we'd talk filters. So the little ones that go in the gun, the ones that you're going to be replacing the most often, they are size-wise 17 millimeters in diameter, and they are 3 millimeters thick. And the big filters, if you have to get those, looks like about 21 millimeters, and they're what fit in here. Now these aren't going to get dirty that often. These will get dirty mostly from smoke fumes or flux fumes, because no solder is going to be getting by that gun filter. Here's our display. So it shows this temperature of the actual tip. It's climbing. The set temperature, we've got it set at 330. So as you see, these take a while to warm up. Again, you're not just heating the little solder tip up, you're heating that entire tube length up, right from the tip right to the inlet into the glass accumulation tube. So it takes a while to warm up, but there we're up to 330. But I would allow it even more time. Just let that thing heat up for a good minute or two before you start using it. Let's just see how much vacuum this thing is going to create. So they're saying up to 600 millimeters of mercury, so that's right down in the gray there. Wow, that's impressive. About 650. Now I assume it's probably going to be a little less at the gun end. Gotta try that again. Yeah, she's getting to 550 for sure. Not bad at the tip, pretty impressive. Now the other thing I thought we'd do is just check the tip temperature, see how accurate it is. So I've just got the thermocouple probe here on the multimeter. Just insert it in the tip hole. And the station's saying 160. And this is coming up. So it's been about 30 seconds, and yeah, it's slowing right down. So 160 here, meter showing 162. I can certainly live with that. Let's dial it up to 360. Or let's go up to 380. That's the temperature I'm going to work at. Just fast forward. Yeah, it's been about a minute and it's coming up. It's overshooting a bit and then it drops. But it's fairly accurate. You know, for a desolder tool, 10 degrees over what's indicated here, not bad at all. So I'm just going to leave the stock 1.2 on, and we've got this is an ECM control board. I'm going to attempt to take this IC out. I'm just going to put some flux on here. Now, very important that the tip goes right square over the hole. The whole idea is you want to be pulling vacuum through the hole from underneath the hole. If you come in at an angle, you're not going to get vacuum on the back side of the hole. So you want to be square over the hole. The molten solder is actually creating a seal around the tip of the gun. And we'll try one here. Now, because it's a through hole and it's plated all the way through, may have to hold the tip on a little bit longer, but focusing, you bastard. It seems to be doing a good job. There's different techniques. I've seen people just hold it over, hold the vacuum switch on after you come off, so any solder in there will get pulled all the way through. And then others say to shake this around a bit. Well, that one didn't work, doing it that way. Definitely having flux on there helps. Yeah, I found if you don't leave it on long enough, when you first put it on, and you try to suck right away, it won't work because the solder hasn't melted all the way through the hole. So I don't know if you'd have to wiggle it. I'm finding if I just hold it over the hole for a long enough period of time that the solder will melt all the way through the hole to the other side of the board. It's going to take practice, right? There, I think that should do her. There we go. Yeah, there's potting compound on there. That's what was holding her in. But yeah, for a first attempt, not completely horrible, right? Let's try a cap here. Doesn't help when the pin's folded over on the back side. Oh, geez, that works sweet. Just helps it flow better, right? So it makes sense that if the solder is flowing better, it's you're going to be able to suck it up better too. Oh, this pin's folded over. Oh, came right out. Yeah, you got to hold it on. Let the heat migrate through the hole before you pull vacuum. Otherwise, you're only going to empty half the hole out. No problem. So, I'm impressed. Let's see. Now, there's all the crap in there. Let's take that out. So, again, pull this back all the way. Pull your glass tube back. Lift it out at the front. And holy smokes. Quite a bit of gunk on there. So yeah, you can just clean that up. There's our little filter. So nothing really got on the filter at all. That blast plate, if you want to call it that, kept most of the solder off the plate, or off the filter. Pretty cool. To finish off here, just a couple of things. Tip replacement, in case you're curious, very simple. You just unscrew this. It's like an old M-style soldering tip replacement. Not quite the same tips, obviously. Can we focus on this little guy? So, main thing is that before you turn it off, you pull vacuum through it so there's nothing stuck in there. And you can see right through the tube. I've done quite a bit now. I've been playing with this for about another hour, and yeah, nothing's getting stuck in that tube at all. You've got 1, 1.2, and 1.5. And like anything, it's going to take practice. I certainly didn't learn to solder in an hour, and I haven't learned to desolder in an hour, but it's going pretty good. You know, I just have to figure out what tip sizes to use. Basically, I think you want it just big enough to fit over the pin, but not too big. The more vacuum you can pull through the hole, the better. And playing with temperatures. I found if I went up to 400 Celsius, didn't have to hold the tip on to the component as long to pull it through. So again, it's just experimentation and learning to use the tool. Other neat thing is when you have a set temperature, if you turn the station off, when you turn it back on, it memorizes that last temperature that you had it set at. So if you're always working at a specific temperature, chances are you're not going to have to use these membrane buttons much. This thing's got this blue light, and I thought it was a gauge to say when the vacuum was getting low. You know, full bar would indicate full vacuum. But as you see, it doesn't change a thing. So I think it's just marketing eye candy. You know, is this an industrial tool? No, it's not. You know, I think if you were to use this every day at a shop, yeah, it's not going to last that long. But for a hobbyist, you know, I'm going to be using this several times a month. I expect it's going to last me the rest of my life. And by all means, if anyone's got this exact model or any of the ZD models, if you want to give us your opinions, if you've had them for a few years, how they're holding up for you. As far as cons go on this specific Pro'sKit SS-331, biggest one, of course, is lack of 110 volt versions. It's absolutely ridiculous that they don't have more, and you can't find them. I don't know what the problem is, if it's a problem with the manufacturing, the distributing, but to me they could sell a lot more if they offered 110 volt versions. I should mention that switch mode power supply, you cannot switch it. That's what I thought at first too. Oh, you could go into the switch mode power supply, there'd be a little switch, because a lot of switch mode power supplies are universal voltages. Not so with this one, it's specific. So if you get a 220 volt version and you're on 110, you're going to have to get a step-up transformer for it. The other thing is I hate the membranes. I like the rubberized buttons that were on the original ZD 915 and 985 a lot better. Of course, the Hakko 472D, it had membrane buttons. And last up is the lack of the power switch on the front. Benchtop, any benchtop equipment should have a power switch on the front, not on the back. Pros, obviously, the performance for the price. You know, even at $130, you know, these things used to, you know, the Hakko and similar stations, 500 and up. So for 130 bucks, and like I said, I got this for even less, just outstanding value, and it works well. Good vacuum, we saw it, it's actually over 600. We're down to about 550 at the tip, but hey, that's very decent. And the gun is really nice. I like this gun better than some of the others. It's really nice to hold, lightweight, it's nicely balanced. And I do like the stand being separate, of course. I could tuck this in the corner of my workbench and still be able to get to the other side of the workbench. The cable, in case anyone's wondering, is 1 meter long. So you've got 1 meter of length to work with. And again, I'll have links below in the description for this one and maybe some of the other ZDs if you want to check some of them out. And yeah, if you're at all curious about these things, hopefully this little video gave you a few more ideas on it. Cheers folks, happy desoldering.